Okay, this is BoOM bonus content. I asked ChatGPT, I need to find the story of an ordinary man called François Laruelle, 1937 to 2024. So this was the response. François Laruelle, 1937 to 2024. Life and Legacy. Executive Summary. François Laruelle, born 22nd August 1937 in Châtelet-Vosges, was a French philosopher best known as the founder of non-philosophy. A student of the prestigious École Normale Supérieure, he passed the aggregation in philosophy and earned his doctorate d'etat at Paris X Nanterre in 1975 under Paul Ricoeur. Laruelle taught philosophy in secondary and higher education, including Paris X Nanterre, and was later named Professor Emeritus there. In the 1980s, he broke with contemporary philosophical dogma by founding his own journals. Pourquoi pas la philosophie and La Décision philosophique 1983 to 85 and 1987 to 89, and by developing a radical concept of non philosophy. Over 6 decades, he published 20 plus books in French and English, including Une biography de l'homme ordinaire 1985 and Principe de la non-philosophie 1996. He and his wife, philosopher Anne-Françoise Schmidt, jointly led the emerging non-philosophy movement, co-founding the organization Non-Philosophique Internationale or ONFI, which he directed until his death. Laruelle died in Paris on 28 October 2024 at age 87 after a period of care. The official death notice notes he was taken from their tender care on October 28, 2024 in his 88th year. He is survived by his wife Anne-Françoise and two daughters Marlene and Lorraine. At his death, he was remembered as the enormously important French thinker who died at age 87, a tribute to the impact of his dissenting visionary work. Timeline of key events. Timeline of key events. Year 1937. Event born 22nd August in Chablot, Vosges, Eastern France. 1975. Awarded doctorate d'etat at University of Paris X Nanterre for thesis Économie générale des effets d'être under Paul Ricoeur. 1983 to 85, founded and edited the journal Pourquoi pas la philosophie. 1987 to 89, co-founded and edited La Décision philosophique. 1996, published Principe de la non-philosophie, a cornerstone of his thought. 2007, published L'Antiphilosophie ou Anti-Badiou, a critique of contemporary philosophy. 2024, died 28th October in Paris, age 87. Biography. Early life and education. François Laruelle grew up in the Vosges region of France, far from the Parisian academic elites. He entered the École Normale Supérieure Fontenay Saint-Cloud in 1959 earned the aggregation in philosophy, and pursued a doctoral degree in University Paris X Nanterre. In 1975, after extensive study of continental thinkers, he completed his doctorat d'etat, a dissertation entitled Economie générale des effets d'etre, supervised by the eminent philosopher Paul Ricoeur. This work laid the groundwork for his later non philosophy by rigorously analyzing how our usual decisions in thought arise. Academic career. After his doctorate, Laruelle taught philosophy in various French institutions, lycées in Arras and Paris, and a class at Aingen-les-Bains, before securing a university position at Paris X Nanterre. He became a leading figure there and, by the late 1980s, was recognized as Professor Emeritus Professor at Nanterre. In parallel, he served in the 1980s as Program Director at the Collège International de Philosophie, a Paris-based research institute, and co-directed two experimental philosophy journals. From 1983 to 85, he edited Pourquoi pas la philosophie, and from 1987 to 89, he co-founded La Decision Philosophique. These ventures signaled his break with mainstream philosophy. Laruelle wanted to do philosophy differently, inventively using it to question itself. He also oversaw the book series L'Invention philosophique Aubier, and beginning in 1995, the Bibliothèque de non-philosophie Chimay, through which he published much of his work and that of his collaborators. Philosophical work. Laruelle's central idea was non-philosophy, a science of philosophy that treats philosophy itself as an object of study rather than as a sovereign source of truth. Whereas traditional philosophy decides and hierarchizes concepts, Laruelle argued it must be turned around. A revolution he called putting philosophy on the line as one more theoretical science. He spent decades developing this non-standard framework, famously split into 5 philosophies or phases in his work. His published books form a sprawling project. Among these were Une biography de l'homme ordinaire, 1985, which challenges grand philosophical authorities, and Theory des Étrangers, Theory of Strangers, 2001, exploring how individuals relate to universal concepts. In 1996, he articulated the Principe de la non-philosophie, laying out his methodology, and in 2007 he published La Anti-Philosophie, Anti-Badiou, a pointed critique of the contemporary philosopher Alain Badiou from Laruelle's standpoint. He described philosophy not as a sacred canon but as an occasionalist use of thought, something that can be formalized and generalized non-philosophically. In technical language, he spoke of the vision in un and the one as an immanent real, irreducible to philosophical categories. Laruelle also ventured into political and aesthetic theory, writing on how art and science fit into his system. Public roles and influence. Alongside his writing, Laruelle was a community builder. With his wife, philosopher François Schmid, he co-founded the organization Non-Philosophique Internationale (ONFI) in the 2000s to promote non-philosophy worldwide. Schmid herself is a scholar of Poincaré and interdisciplinary science, who had met Laruelle as a student. Together, they led ONFI, co-authoring manifestos and hosting seminars. Laruelle remained active on international stages. He gave countless lectures and participated in art and philosophy symposia. For example, the image below shows Laruelle speaking at the Miguel Abreu Gallery in New York in 2011, illustrating how his ideas reached beyond academic halls and into the art world. François Laruelle speaking at the Miguel Abreu Gallery, New York City, April 6, 2011. Laruelle remained intellectually active late into life, engaging with contemporary thinkers and artists around the globe. Personal life. Laruelle was a private man about his family, but his obituary notes that he was married to fellow philosopher Anne-Françoise Schmid, born 1949, and had two daughters, Marlene and Lorraine. Schmid, originally Swiss, co-directs many non-philosophy initiatives with him. The death notice fondly mentions his care at a Parisian facility called Les Musiciens shortly before he passed away. No cause of death was given. He simply died on Monday morning, October 28, 2024, in his 88th year, as friends put it. Death and legacy. When news of Laruelle's death broke, it sparked tributes in the philosophical community. N+1 magazine published a eulogy noting that he was the enormously important French thinker who died Monday morning at age 87. French associations, example ONFI, and philosophers recognized that Laruelle had reshaped 20th century thought by refusing to accept traditional limits. His books, some now translated into English, continue to be studied in philosophy, theology, and art circles. Laruelle insisted that philosophy should be done, invented anew, rather than merely revered, and in that spirit he left a legacy of creative rigor. Even as debates about his ideas, some call them heretical, continue, his life is remembered as that of a relentless thinker who danced locked in an intimate confrontation with philosophy, never as an ivory tower sage, but as a critic of philosophy's assumptions. His influence lingers. Graduate conferences are held in his name. New books analyze his work, and the ONFI school he founded still operates. In sum, François Laruelle, 1937 to 2024, was a path-breaking philosopher who reframed how we think about thought itself. His life story, from provincial childhood to global intellectual reputation, exemplifies a rebellious, innovative spirit in French philosophy that will be studied and debated for years to come.